Namaste, Galactic family. Welcome back to the channel, IndigoAngel. Come on into this dimension. Come on into this cosmic grid update. As some new insights have come into my field regarding the global wildfires, the global forest fires, the engineered fires, the directed energy weapon fires, that have seemed to become a common occurrence, a global grid multi-event around the world at this time. So we're going to dive into this in terms of the new locations that have come up as well. Currently, the fires are raging and burning right now in the Spanish island, the Canary Islands, Tenerife. And I guess it's pretty crazy over there. They just evacuated 4,500 people, and they're saying this is the most complex fire that Spain has experienced in the last 40 years. So we're going to tie all of this in. So make sure to put a big like on this video today. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notifications bell if you like the content here, and let's get into it. So my message today is that we have solely focused our attention on the tampering of dark military directed energy weapons involvement at the location of Maui, causing the fires. And I do feel with this, in particular, this case, that this is true, that there has been an agenda over spiritual timeline warfares that goes on aeons at this location in terms of the Stargate there, because I personally think there's multiple 12th dimensional advanced Stargate systems running in those islands. They are the actual inner Earth access gate systems that can access the internal spiritual body of the Earth, the internal spiritual Merkaba system of the planet, the internal pillar system of the planet. And if you have the ascension codes, if you were a part of these original ascended soul tribes that knew how to spiritually, through light and sound, access and correct the negative energies inside the earth through these gate systems, you can do it there. So for that reason, I want to say that this is one of the most battled for locations in the world, whether it's conscious or unconscious or subconscious within the controller body. I think it's probably subconscious to unconscious, but there is an innate drive to stop the collective ascension events from taking place. So I want to just pull back just a little bit and look at the bigger picture in terms of global domination, global planetary hijacking technology, dark ET technology, dark military involvement, dumb involvement, artificial intelligent matrices. And let's look at the root systems in which are being used by the controllers. Okay, so this is going to put things into a different perspective for you guys today, and for why they're doing it. What do these other areas of attack, besides Maui, Portugal, Corfu, everything riding along that 33rd degree parallel, have in common with the events in Maui? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my map, because originally I wanted to look at the trifecta of fires that were sweeping across the grids to see what energies, ley lines, stargates may be activated or affiliated with these events. So what I charted is on this, there's not a lot on this map. I just put a few things up here to kind of make a point today as to what I think may actually be going on. So the one thing that I did chart was Giza, the fourth planetary Stargate. Okay. I also charted the 33rd parallel ley line, which does seem to be the most activated and charged ley line on the Earth at this time. Also charted Corfu in Greece. You can see how close this fire is to the 33rd parallel. Cascais, Portugal, where the other fires are going, you can see how close it is to the 33rd parallel. Tenerife, you can see how close that is to the 33rd parallel. And then all the way across to Maui, which does seem to be a little bit further away, but still within reason of the 33rd parallel. If there's other things going on here. Oh, and I also charted the aliens down here in Peru and where those were scouted and seen, because it kind of fits like a particular narrative here that I'm going to tell you guys about. Those alien sightings were in a place called Alto Nene, Peru, which the entire alien sighting, I'm coming to find out, has something to do over gold mines down in Peru and the potential warfare over gold resources. So honestly, these alien sightings to me now are sounding very Anunnaki. I don't know about y'all, but it's got a taste of Anunnaki's energy for sure. But essentially, there is a global fire force right now that's really sweeping across this 33rd parallel. Like, this is where all of the transformation is taking place on Earth in its totality. The ley line that extends horizontally from the fourth planetary stargate, Giza, Egypt. Okay, and Giza is actually the geographical center of the Earth body, the holographic body, the race morphogenetic field, the inner Earth 0-point field. Giza is the center. So we have to take into account for this, I think, that these fires are extending across a wide range within Europe. Okay, hundreds of fires in Europe. It's not just these fires. We're hearing about the big ones, but fires are really raging everywhere. I think all the way up to the 44th parallel, because there's even places in Canada. I have people in Canada messaging saying there's fires. So I think the hot zone is probably from the 30th parallel all the way up to the 44th parallel, and between those two ley lines that the fires are raging. And so it's like the total grids and vortices are in a relentless, all-consuming symbolism of the Phoenix transformation, the Phoenix rising at this time. The Phoenix symbolism is coming in, and then when I look at the opposition and the polar aspect of that in terms of the negative qualities, I'm seeing the Phoenix frequency fences. So I'm going to tell you what those are in just a second. But what I'm trying to get at with just this little picture, this little diagram here. Also wanted to point out, I charted the 0-point field down to Antarctica here as well. So you can see this, how kind of like, let's say there was underground military bases here and they're using dews. You could see how a direct shot it would be to Giza, and then to run transmissions on that 33rd parallel, causing fires or causing mass catastrophe. So what I'm trying to say is, if global mass catastrophe and Armageddon directed energy weapons, inner Earth planetary weapons are running in the case for all of these fires, versus the isolated event in Maui where we're thinking, oh, it was just Maui that was intentionally attacked, that maybe it's all of these locations that are being intentionally attacked, that Giza would be the main target. Giza would be absolutely 1000% how they could do this. This is where the directed energy weapon and negative alien tech could wreak havoc on a global scale the most, if these are mass extermination or mass land grab events. Giza has this direct transmission again to the North and the South Pole. Okay, we know there's a lot of directed energy weapon locations in Antarctica. This is something we were talking about with Typical Skeptic on his podcast. Was I was saying, I think it was coming up from the South. I think it was coming up from Antarctica. I've kind of been suspecting that they would initiate that underground laser beam directed energy weapon system there. I've heard a lot of talk that, Antarctica is where these things are able to develop and also reach everywhere in the world globally because of the point of the South Pole and having trajectory into all time zones, all ley lines, and all cross-hatched gridding systems that run down through the Earth. So the demographic area of Giza, Egypt is the fourth dimensional planetary stargate. It's considered the Diamond Heart Complex. Okay, it's considered the solar temple of the Earth. It upholds the feminine vortex in front of the Sphinx. And it, when activated, when it's running celestial, crystalline, higher diamond heart activations, it activates the diamond architecture in the Earth. So it's a huge input and output system of celestial body, filaments of celestial energy that initiate the diamond refinement. So this means that this Stargate is receiving first activation, first dimensional initiation, transmissions to and from the sun within the Earth's race morphogenetic field. So out of all the Stargates on the Earth, it is transmitting with the solar energy first, basically, within the solar logos energies. So Giza is a primary target for total controller invasion. They like it because they can target and infiltrate several locations instantaneously and simultaneously using the worldwide transmission in which this Stargate system has the ability to reach. So this Stargate has been targeted before and in the past, during and after the Luciferian Rebellion, in order to gain full spectrum dominance over the solar portals and control access into the magnetic north and south poles. And this goes deep into planetary modification technologies, which is something, honestly, I feel like I should do a video on, just highlighting like what all of these are, because there's a lot of different types that they have. I think that the fourth planetary Stargate in Giza has been imperative for them to install the checkerboard scatter mutation radiation grids, also the Atlantean time warp black Tesseract cube with the internal planetary spikes. I've talked about this before as well. Let me just go ahead and show you here. This is on my website. This is a blog I wrote November 11th, 2022, November 11th, 11/11, let's go. Created this diagram here as well. I'll let you guys watch this. So this is basically the collective mind field that upholds the fall of man from the Atlantean time. This is an inner Earth Saturn hologram that radiates out 3 different mental bodies from the controllers. Comes from the core of Saturn. Extends out through a Nibirian mental body, a Marduk mental body, and a Meldek mental body that all have to do with the Ansu of great planetary warfare. This is kind of a representation of the core-based architecture and structure to the Atlantean timeline. So this is kind of like an example of what this planetary modification and takeover actually looks like on a holographic level. I highly recommend going and reading this article. One thing I was picking up on last night was the black star called Abaddon as well, known as the Destroyer, ultimately connects to the old dark ones. So I think there's been a lot of destruction energy recently. Even over the last few weeks, I was getting Kali coming to me consistently. I think there's also some negative and lesser spirits, such as Abaddon as well, who's considered a fallen angel, connected to the Archangel Michael Leyline, the Temple Mount, the Temple of Apollyon, and the Temple of Janus, and also the Vatican as well. Also to the Kaaba in Saudi Arabia. There's a major rebuking of harmful and negative spirits that we need to release. I think that this is kind of attached to the inner core framework of the mental and emotional body, mind wave fields of the Earth's body. And we have to clear all of this from within the Earth. They do all of this because, you know, they want to take position for total Earth domination during the ascension cycles. You know, all of these things essentially exist because of the attempts of domination. Also trying to repress or accelerate, according to their agenda, the force of the collective awakening events taking place on Earth, as they do not want the collective to wake up. They do not know that our DNA over time out-evolves the manipulation tactics. I mean, they do know this. So they essentially need to reinvent their mode of attack on the masses. Another thing that kind of came up a few weeks ago when it comes to Giza and comes to this gate site, is just speaking a little bit on current events. They just had that Travis Scott concert be canceled 3 weeks ago. So this was prior to the onslaught of all of these fires. And he was supposed to perform at Giza. He was supposed to perform this utopian performance at the pyramids. And so I feel like that signaled something. Travis Scott's music's been very known to be connected to the demonic realms. And so I feel like they were preparing for something at that Stargate that the mainstream didn't know about, only the elite knew about. And they knew something was coming. And so they canceled that concert. And again, like if you know anything about his music, I mean, he has put on deadly satanic concerts where I think his last concert resulted in like 8 or 9 people dying. And even in the video footage of his concerts, there was actually demons that were being captured on the video flying across. So I think when all of that started surfacing, you know, I've never heard of a musician to perform at the pyramids before. I've never heard this before. I don't know if you guys have heard this before. Like since when have artists been allowed to perform major mainstream concerts at the pyramids? I feel like that's like an off limits thing. I think it was an indicator that something was up with the Stargate. I briefly took note of that when I heard about that concert was canceled and thought, it sounds like it's relatively important, but I don't know for what just yet. And now it's kind of revealing itself. That gate system had been weakened and attacked by demonic forces, to be honest with you. Another thing that I've been seeing as well, I'm going to pull up this picture. Okay, as I've been seeing all of these fire global events are activating what is called the Phoenix grid, or what you can really just call a Phoenix frequency fence. So this is a picture of it. Now it's considered an Atlantean pylon implant network, and it's spoken about in the Voyagers book 2 with Asha Nadine. This was created in 10,500 BC in the Wall of Time, which the Wall of Time is basically torn up to pieces right now and being blocked and infiltrated by the Draco system, and also by the Pleiadian Nibirian Anunnaki. This frequency fence was anchored into the earth through the underground bases of the Nibirian crystal facilities that they have. Basically DUMBs, just controlled by Nibirians, basically controlled by Anunnaki. Again, really strange that the aliens in Peru have an Anunnaki energy about them. Through Stargate 4 at Giza, this frequency fence has caused fallen portions of the Earth to form an inhabitable moon around the planet Phantom Nibiru, basically. And so the Phoenix grid is basically like a revealing of a massive frequency fence that's deeply connected to the use of dark alien technology, the invasions of planetary modification and manipulation. I think it pumps out massive mind control, locking people into victimizer programs. And I think it's at the core of the fires. I think it's at the core of the running extermination genocidal records. A lot of these connected to all of the original like core trigger world massacres and holocausts, such as the Celtic massacres, the Druid massacres, the massacres in Hawaii, where the Dracos went to the Lemurian continent to finish off the genocidal massacres in Kauai, Hawaii, some like 22,000 years ago. And they did all this in order to kill off all the remaining tribes of the solar dragon lineages. And those who were the Mu pillar holders, who held the pillars to Mu, who held the spiritual backbone of Mu. And this was to prepare for a completely patriarchal society. I'm really wondering if they're running like re-patriarchal demon seed codes through society on Earth as a whole, and they're just running like invader forms of Atlantean brotherhoods and snake brotherhoods. All of this really connected to the Orion groups. But all of these groups at the end of the day were the ones that formed the Luciferian rebellion or covenant. And so I think all of these core world trigger wounds, the final genocide of the matriarchal society lineage coming to an end of solar females, okay, hijacking the solar gate system, predominantly male, was aided by the Anunnaki negotiations and agreements, and was one of the last stages in the Lemurian Holocaust at the end of the Atlantean Golden Age. So all of this is resurfacing this Akashic history, these Akashic timelines, these Akashic records. It all resurfaces through this transformation to clear the old structures out. I think this is what is ultimately happening. But this Phoenix frequency fence, APIN, this runs east and south on the Giza ley line, which is the 33rd parallel. So that Phoenix grid is running along this parallel very heavily. And the Draconians and the Zeta Regalians, which are just basically hybrid Dracos, they've copied this frequency fence and they've reinvented it into other ones. So there's multiple simultaneous levels and layers of frequency fences, controller fences that are basically working against you, installing implants and seals and all kinds of stuff like that. The Philadelphia experiment of 1943 was one of the reasons that the Phoenix grid expanded, and that the wormholes actually opened up to interface with those systems, and that are running all of the reversals into the phantom Earth. So I think when they do things like these mass global wildfire directed energy weapon initiations along that 33rd parallel, essentially these are extermination events. I think this is being amplified with Maui, and it's being reinitiated through the 4th planetary Stargate to target several grid locations that are currently on fire. The controllers aim to use this to take over the dragon body grid, basically, during the end of the ascension cycles. So I really feel like we're at the tail end of an ascension cycle, for one. Hence the increase of intensity through each gateway. We can really feel the coming to the end full circle. But it's not going out without a bang, so to speak. Another thing that's connected to the Phoenix frequency fence or grid, whatever you want to call it, the Dove grid is linked to this. So this is one that represents freedom and peace, like a freedom radial template. And essentially, we want to be able to release the Dove from the Phoenix frequency fence. Basically, release that it's captive, release the liberation, the freedom, the God sovereignty codes, the olive branch codes. We have to work to release the Dove templating from the Phoenix control. Now, right down here in the Bermuda is where the wormholes run from the Phoenix frequency fence, essentially. And through the activation of the Phoenix grid, okay, it was actually predicted that there would be a Peruvian Stargate invasion. This is all predicted stuff. And we had that recently. Okay, we had ET spotted in Peru through the warfares of disclosure. I couldn't figure out why I was so turned off to this news. It's because I see now I was picking up on negative ET vibes. It was just like, yeah, it feels pungent to me. It feels pungent. And I think the beings that came up and showed up in Peru came through those Phoenix wormholes, through black hole technology. Okay, I think the Anunnaki came through black hole technology. I think these are the results of a much bigger galactic race warfare that's taking place. The ISS is traveling right across Saturn right now, you guys. the International Space Station is head to head with Saturn. You know, there is massive military galactic operations taking place right now. And so I think these are just results of the warfare, and humans are just playing catch up from what's going on. We're playing catch up from what's happening. Even the couple times that I remote viewed the dark side of the moon, I've been seeing very heavy galactic military activity on the dark side of the moon. I kept seeing several cigar-shaped Super Federation fleets posted up around the Earth containing Super Federation involvement. And for what? Why are they up there just hanging out, like preparing for something? What are they preparing themselves for in the terms of Earth and humans and wormhole access to our planet? It's just really bizarre that all of this hits right, because I had just been putting out updates prior to that about the recollection of the dragon parts, gaining momentum in full spectrum unity. The diamond architecture was being highly activated and refined. And then we have the global fire events. So this may have been a massive psyop to actually stop the higher ascension timelines, the higher collective awakening events, okay, and make them about tragedy and sorrow and suffering and pain, and to ensure that it rips apart these collective awakening events to re-implement Project Phoenix frequency fence, and let beings in through wormholes, simultaneously to scattering more of the dragon parts and running collective extermination events. So that's my take on it, you guys. This is me like actually breaking it down now. I'm like, what is really going on? I think what is transpiring now is a demolition of grid structures that hold distortion. Damaged and waste product and debris, harvested loot and spiritual and energetic pollution and nuclear spores. I think that a lot of that is being recycled. I see the correction and correlation running the Celestine fires and the Celestine prophecies as well. That book has been coming up. So if you've read anything about Celestine prophecy, you would know that the book context is actually based out of Peru. And in the novel, the Celestine Temple in the ruins of an ancient civilization in Peru was where the manuscript was actually buried. So everything is kind of signaling back to Peru that actually, I think what is going down in terms of galactic negotiations, it's probably taking place in Peru. In the book, at some point, the ancients reached an energy vibration level threshold that allowed them to cross over into a reality of pure spirituality. So this is also kind of a clue as to what levels of the veils are being dissolved by this total fire global transformation at hand on a large scale. Many are crossing over to pure spirituality. This is kind of what fire represents. This is what fire means. This is a process to correct DNA mutational damage on the Earth. And from these specific currents of life force and their ley lines that are being hijacked and siphoned. The fourth planetary Stargate, let me tell you, it's a beautiful Stargate. It's a beautiful inverted solar. When I say inverted, not inverted like reversal, just like the cone shape of it is pointing down and expands out. It is a radial solar gate system, and it's a pure organic and natural gate system. It's what the humans do with the power of the energy that corrupt it, okay, and hijack it. But at its core heart, like frequency at the base of neutrality, it can never truly be hijacked, but it's just being utilized. And what's sad is that these natural disasters truly wreak havoc on the environment and cause great damage to wildlife and human life. However, I think it's important for us to think about the spiritual significance that goes beyond the physical destruction. Okay, I think that the global wildfires, whether they were began with directed energy weapons and then have spiraled out of control. However, which way this has come to unfold itself, but I think that the fires serve as a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and death and the importance of transformation, and that there is a celestial Celestine fire activation coinciding the perceived attacks and dark negative alien military tech. Okay, the Celestine fire, which is like another type of fire that is the purification fire. And I know that these wildfires are continuing to ravage different parts of the world, but I think it's just important for us to pause and reflect on the significance of these multidimensional disasters. One of the spiritual lessons that we can learn from these wildfires is the importance of awareness and universal laws, gratitude. In essence, I think the universe, its way of asking us to pay attention to our impact on the world around us. The wildfire is an outward manifestation of an imbalance that we have created. And it's a reminder that we need to take care of our planet, or it will take care of itself, even if it means burning everything to the ground. So I think one of the things that have come to me in meditation recently was, as grid workers, the way to heal these fires through our grid work is to work with the divine fire water. It's kind of like an androgynous split solar fire and water, and it became like a lunar water in the astral plane. So we can work with divine fire water in the astral planes, soothing the astral fire, soothing the astral pain body of the planet and the collective. I do feel that as it transmitted through me and I felt this divine fire water, I sensed universal cure. I sensed the elixir of life, and the divine fire, the water, it's embodying all medicines, truly. And so I think it's the first creation principle that includes all other substances and elements. And it's the infinite substance of divine origin that created all existence. And so we can spiritually and energetically soothe what is happening in the grids by using that divine fire water. So, and I think it's also about putting out the divine sacred fires in our own hearts. Okay, calling in more healing, calling in more healing for the globe, calling in more healing for the world, calling upon the angels, calling upon all of our spiritual resources. I think it's the grid worker's duty and responsibility right now to have to perform divine sacred alchemy on the earth. And so, yeah, it's about observing, about watching, about trusting, about believing, about having faith, and then also knowing your level of mastery to contribute to the healing process of what these wildfires mean spiritually to everyone all over the globe. So I hope that you enjoyed these messages today. I've been sitting with all of this, bringing up this Phoenix frequency fence, thinking about it, like how do we dismantle and dissolve this? As I do feel like it's a negative invading frequency fence that is no longer serving the highest good of humanity. And why these are still in place so heavily, I mean, we really need to get down to deeper levels of removing J-seals. The J-seal hook is what keeps all of this anchored. It really does represent the fall of man. And so, again, why that J-seal removal work is so important, you guys. So yeah, I hope you all have a blessed, beautiful rest of your day. I will be back with another video soon. Namaste and take care.